All right. Does anybody out there have words for this one? We'll start with ugly. We'll start with domination. We'll start with blowout. We'll start with lack of fight is more than one word. I believe the count is currently 62-26, North Carolina on top of Miami. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, who once stated just yesterday that this was the game that I most wanted to see on this day, tied with Wisconsin and Iowa. To be fair, that was my statement. Wisconsin, Iowa, North Carolina, Miami. Those were the two games I wanted to see today. These two football teams are supposed to be on the same tier. They're supposed to be on the same plane. They're not elite. They're nowhere close to elite. We knew that. We knew Miami nor North Carolina were anywhere close to the elite of college football. Not in that stratosphere, not really on the even second tier, but very good top 15 to 20 teams. And this is only one game. This is just one game that we saw tonight. But my goodness, not showing up, that is the definition of not showing up. So I don't know if North Carolina is that much better than Miami. The rest of the season would tell us that they're not, that this was kind of an aberration, a one-time deal. But this does not show us much in terms of fight, determination, game planning. Doesn't show us much of anything for Miami in regards to coaching, preparation, desire, will, effort, execution, poise, all those things. It all went out the door. Miami, North Carolina. This is the game that I most wanted Miami to play this season. I wanted to see Miami execute, and I most would gain an evaluation of how good this football team was. I've been saying this all season long. I've been basically saying I don't know how good Miami is because I know that they're playing one game against a team that is so much better than them that it's not going to be that competitive. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a game. And that was Clemson. And that turned out to be true. And I will take your call in just a second. And then I looked at the rest of the schedule and said Miami is clearly better than every other team on the schedule. Start with UAB, who's a good Group of 5 team in Conference USA that's gone to the conference championship game now 2 or 3 consecutive years. And then mark through the rest of the season, and you've got Virginia Tech. I thought Virginia Tech had a chance to be a better team than they've been this year, but they're pretty awful. But on down the line, and North Carolina State's actually proved to be a little bit better than we expected, and they were the team that gave Miami a great game, probably the most entertaining game of the season, that whatever it turned out to be, 44-41 game. But Miami's generally played down to its competition until last week, and then they just blasted Duke. But Duke's losing right now by 28 points to Florida State. Florida State's one of the worst teams in Power 5 football, so but at least Miami did what you would expect them to do against Duke, who might be the worst team in the ACC or one of the worst. Okay. Then they come into this game against North Carolina, and I've said it all season, since day one, since game one. This is the game I most wanted to see Miami play because Clemson's way up here, way too good for them. And everybody else, even though they played down to them and barely beat a lot of these teams, Virginia Tech and NC State in particular, Miami was clearly better than those teams. Those are like top 50 teams. And I thought Miami was in that 15 to 20 range, and they probably still are. But this was the game. This was the barometer game. This was the game to measure Miami football and to see how well they've progressed. Because I looked across the nation and I thought, you know, who would I want to see Miami play? I'd like to see them play Iowa, Iowa State. I'd like to see them play teams on their level. And there seemed to me to be only one team on their level in this conference, and it was North Carolina. But maybe not, they're not on Miami's level. Again, it's only one game, but at home, in a game in which both teams came in with not coming off a difficult game last week to be beaten down in any way. And Miami clearly had the incentive of what happened in Chapel Hill last year when they blew that 4th and forever play to lose the game. And Miami's been talking about wanting to show itself and strive for an Orange Bowl bid. Man, They just got bludgeoned in this game. And if you would have told me it was going to be 62-26, and it probably is now like 100-26 at this point, whatever it is, 62-26, I would have told you that Sam Howell had a field day, and those North Carolina wide receivers, Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown in particular, probably just whipped up and blew by those Miami corners. No. Somebody brought it up in a phone call, and I actually cut a video on it that I placed on this channel. The North Carolina run game was ridiculous. Okay, now I'll take phone calls because that's all I got to say is basically North Carolina just ran the same 3 or 4 running plays over and over and over. And there was a challenge of manhood out there. There was a challenge of manhood, and Javonte Williams and Michael Carter and the North Carolina offensive line, we should probably get a depth chart to give them proper recognition. I love to give recognition and time to offensive lines. If I could do videos on offensive lines, I would do it for the next month because those guys don't get enough credit. So the North Carolina offensive line and Carter and Williams, just based on the manhood scale, just beat the hell out of that Miami defense. Just made them look like junior high kids trying to tackle. Just beat them physically. I can't believe that they were physically that superior. All right. Again, we did get a couple phone calls come in. So if you want to call back, 860-325-3687. This is our Miami post game against North Carolina. Of course, it's a Miami channel. We're going to focus on the Canes. But if you love North Carolina football, I will not be taking calls about any other game. This is all Miami. This is all North Carolina. So we'll just talk Canes and heels in this one. And I'll get the number up here. But before I do, check out that crawl right there. Many of you are shopping for Christmas right now, and you can help us build the channel. We need your help, your support to help us build the channel. And one way you can do that is to shop Amazon using the link in the description section of any of the videos. Go to any of the videos, grab the link in the description section, use that link when you shop on Amazon, and it's the same shopping experience. Doesn't cost you any more money. Same shopping experience. Just grab that link, use it. It ties back to our channel and helps us grow the channel. Okay. I, unfortunately, am down a laptop, so I cannot, unless I just get on my phone, as Florida State scores another touchdown against Duke. So the win against Duke's not quite as impressive either, because Duke must just be that, not just that bad, but that beaten down at this point in the season, because they were playing most teams pretty close for the first 5-6 games of the season. And the last now 4 games, Duke has just been trounced by Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina. So I guess what Miami did to Duke was what they should do and wasn't really that special. All right. I'm sure as I get into the live chat that there's going to be Miami fans that are terribly upset, and I get that. That's why we love college football, and that's why we love our team. We want them to show up on a big stage. But I certainly, you could probably read between the lines when I brought it up a number of times in talking to the Wholesome One and Cam Underwood this week on here about, I was curious to see how Miami's defense against North Carolina's offense would compare to what Notre Dame did defensively against Miami. And I had a feeling, a pretty good indication that it wasn't going to be anywhere close to what Notre Dame did. So let's dive into it. Here we got a call coming in. And again, we've got the super chat on, everyone. Please help us build the channel. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, what's up, Mark? Are you taking calls?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, absolutely I am.
Oof. What a tough game, man.
Yeah.
That was tough to watch, my guy. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but 778 yards. That's some serious stuff right there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, their quarterback, I mean, they ran the ball because we all talked about their two running backs and how they were, you know, great and they were going to do work on us. But at the same time, they were 15 for 20 passing. You know, they had a good passing game too. Just, it was working running and they did it. 554 yards rushing. It's tough. Tough to watch, man. I can't tell you how many beers I drank tonight because, whew.
Well, I don't know if you heard what I had to say, but if you would have told me, and I don't know what the final score was, I know it was 62-26 when I jumped on here, whatever it turned out to be.
That was the final score, yep.
Okay. If somebody would have told me 62-26, I would have said Sam Howell had a ridiculous day. He had a very efficient day, as you just pointed out, but they only had to throw the ball 20 times. I would have said he went 35 for 40 and threw for 400 yards and blah, blah, blah. But to run the ball like that down their throats and really challenge Miami's defense, just physically, just batter them.
Especially in the defensive end. It's so surprising. I was like, wow. I really have no words. I don't have excuses. You know, I told the good thing about me when I come on these shows and I call in is that I'm not that delusional Kane fan that's like, yo, we're going to smoke this team 40 to whatever. I sit there and I always come in and I give the facts. I sat there before this game and I said, I do not want to go to the Orange Bowl against Florida. I do not want to play against Florida's offense. I do not want to even play against Texas A&M's offense. And this is what I'm talking about right here. People can sit there and complain and cry about Notre Dame being the ACC championship, and I get it. But they are obviously more deserving, and it's been that way. We barely beat Virginia Tech. We barely beat NC State. We played a great game against Duke, but Duke was Duke. We still played the full game, but this game shows where we're at, period. From a coaching level, a senior level, preparation, it's so many things that come into play. And we're just not there. And I hope people finally realize it, and Miami fans quit making us look stupid.
Yeah, I think I said it to you. I've said it a number of times when people have asked about my evaluation of Miami, and I said it off the top of this show. I said, this was the game. This was the game I really wanted to see Miami play because I knew to start the season that they weren't good enough for Clemson. And then that played out. And I knew that they were too good for all the teams that you just mentioned, even though they played down to many of their the level of those teams. Virginia Tech on down the line, NC State, and they were good games. Miami's clearly better than them. And most of those teams, all of those teams are roughly like the 50th best team in the country. They're in that range. So there was no one in between to play. There was Clemson, a top 3 team, and then all these like top 50 teams. And I wanted Miami to play. And I thought Virginia Tech might be that team, but they weren't. And they've had a bad season. But it turned out to be North Carolina. So this has been the game I've been waiting for. I've been like, okay, this is a team on Miami's tier, like top 15 to 20 in the country. And I know it's only one game, and I don't think North Carolina would kill them like this if they played 10 times. But it's still pretty alarming.
Yeah, it is alarming. And just, I personally want an outsider's perspective because there's been a lot of guys on the fire Blake Baker train, who is obviously our defensive coordinator. But when you see him come out against a team who, in my opinion, as a Miami fan, is equally talented, probably better coached in Miami and North Carolina, what's your opinion on Blake Baker moving forward as the defensive coordinator when he just gave up? I mean, I don't care what you say. You can sit there and point the finger at the players, but you're the defensive coordinator who now holds the record for giving up the most yardage as a Miami defensive coach. And that is just not a good look. It's terrible. And we had no adjustments for the run game all game. We had nothing. We had no answers for the run game. None.
And that's the concerning thing here, the lack of adjustments to not do anything in the run game. And you guys have talked about it more so than I have and brought it to my attention going back to the first few weeks of the season, was just putting the right people on the field athletically, especially at linebacker, that are going to help stop the run.
Right. And this goes into people. Well, at one point in the game, I think it was a little bit after halftime, Manny Diaz, I think it was actually before, but Manny Diaz was talking to the entire defense. You know, it was on TV and he was talking to them and everyone's like, oh, Manny's about to take over the defense. Do you guys understand this whole Manny took over the defense, now we're good, Manny didn't, now we're bad? Do you just understand it's just not there on defense yet? Because I'm tired of it to where when our defense plays a good game, people are like, oh, it wasn't Blake, it was Manny. And then now Manny took over the defense apparently, and look at how we just played. I mean, our head coach is a defensive guru, so there's no excuse for what we just saw on the field on defense. There's zero excuse, period, the end.
Yeah, the number that you just threw up to start the phone call, what was that, 778 in total offense?
That's awful.
I don't know how many times that's going to be eclipsed this season. I don't know what the rundown is for like the most yardage given up by teams, but in almost all those other games, you're going to find like a huge mismatch, like one of the best teams in a conference playing one of the worst teams in a conference, or a group of five or whatever. But North Carolina against Miami and almost 800 yards of total offense, especially 800 yards of total offense when once we got to the second half, they didn't even need to do anything creative offensively. They just ran the ball.
Yeah, and it's disappointing too. It's really disappointing because we were 8-1, and honestly speaking, no matter how the outcome was, maybe this was bound to happen. Maybe not the way it did. Maybe we were bound to lose to North Carolina, but not the way we did. You know, and just seeing how the season has went and seeing how it ended. You know, the last game at Hard Rock because Georgia Tech canceled. We have these awesome uniforms. You know, we're bound to the Orange Bowl. To see us come out and just be flat, the players, the coaches, mostly on defense, because honestly, I don't think our offense was really given a chance. In a sense, it was more so on our defense. Our defense could not get a stop. It was like a 1st and 26, first down. Like, that is just, I don't know what to say. I really don't. That's just, I'll tell you what, you got Cam Underwood coming on soon, and I don't know if you've seen his tweets, but wow, you got a hell of a show coming to you.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Cam Underwood is on fire right now.
Yeah. I can imagine he's not happy.
It's disappointing, man. Did you watch the whole game, like the entire game?
I was locked in until about 41-10, and then I started paying more attention to Wisconsin, Iowa. So till 41-10.
You definitely have an idea.
Oh yeah, I watched.
You definitely have an idea how bad our defense played.
Oh yeah, I watched every.
It was bad.
And I even had it on a second screen for the entire game. But once it got 41-10, I'm like, does it really matter what happens after this? So I kind of moved on. But yeah, I'm just surprised at how they just physically just battered them.
Yeah, they did. Their running backs ran over Bolden. They ran over Amari Carter. I mean, our lead guy probably in the nation for targeting. He got ran over a couple times by the running backs.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know the Georgia fans are having their laugh, and that's the thing that I've been saying all year. Even when you compare Georgia to Miami, is Georgia. You know, they were 14-21 against Missouri at half, and they came out and had 35 unanswered against Missouri. Now, Missouri may not be as good as North Carolina. However, Georgia came out and closed the game out. Miami couldn't even come out at half and make adjustments and just slow down the running game, let alone stop it. You know, I'm glad that I'm logical because I'm not about to be embarrassed as a Hurricane fan. It is what it is, and hopefully we go to the damn Cheez-It Bowl and play freaking I don't know who.
Well, yeah, I don't know how that lines up myself. I'll have to look into that, but we'll know in a week anyway. But you know, it's still improvement over last season, and
it is. It's always good to go from losing to FIU, Duke, and LA Tech, and having a 7-6 or 6-7, whatever the hell it was, to even going 8-2, and honestly probably 8-3 because of just how we came out, and we just, you know, we're not on that level yet. And people were sitting there after Duke saying that they're ready for Bama. Man, I hope you guys know that Bama is just going to be way better than they are this year, and they're already, in my opinion, the national championship winners because they're the most complete team in college football.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm not looking forward to seeing them next year. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know how many wake-up calls it takes for Canes fans, but hopefully, if this ain't it, hopefully Bama wakes us up because, wow, it's kind of just, I don't know, it leaves me speechless, you know?
I was also surprised this kind of got lost with all the yardage and points scored by North Carolina, but that, you know, North Carolina's defense has been shredded by just about everybody. And They did the job. You know, they got a pass rush. They stopped the run. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the North Carolina defense they were making plays. They were tackling in the open field. You know, they may have had a couple miscues, but again, most of the miscues were after the game was over. I was a bit surprised that Miami couldn't score more against the North Carolina defense that, you know, they gave up 53 to Wake Forest and 44 to Virginia and on and on and on. Pretty much everybody scored a ton of points against them.
The best part of our offense looked like on our 2-point conversions. Really, that looked like the best part of our offense. We were able to convert on 2-point conversions all day. It just I don't know, man. It was just I think this was a game of obviously bad coaching, bad motivation, bad preparation. You know, it's a mixture of things. But I definitely put it more on the defense from a player perspective. The seniors on defense. You know, there's a lot of those guys on defense who I project to leave in the NFL over guys on offense. You know, but yeah, it's just I don't really know, man. That was a really disappointing game. And anybody from an outsider that's not a Miami fan or a North Carolina fan was probably looking forward to that game and is pretty surprised in the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll put myself in that category. Just a college football guy looking for a good game, and this was the game.
You were saying that this was pretty much game day, college game day over Army Navy, obviously. But
well, Army Navy's a different. It's just a different deal.
I can cheer for the Army because they won.
Yes,
right?
yeah. You being an Army guy, you know, I've always said that's in a different category. That's prestigious and just, you know, it's more than a game. That Army Navy, that's in its own separate category. But just talking about football on the field, the Wisconsin, Iowa, North Carolina, Miami, those were the two games I wanted to see, and neither one of them turned out to be a great game. But I'm surprised. I thought it was a good game. I picked Miami to win. I'm a Miami lover. I guess people could call me, but I picked Miami to win. I thought they'd win. I'm not surprised that they lost, but somebody who said Miami lost, I would have said, 34-31?
Yeah, a close one, not 800 yards of offense. Good Lord. So my question to you, obviously you've done this for a while. You're very intelligent. You're not a Miami hater, like most people call you. Al Golden, Mark D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
That whole issue there. He didn't want to fire D'Onofrio. Now you got Manny Diaz and Blake Baker, and obviously there's an issue on defense. The whole season, you know, this goes back to last year with 4th and 17, and then obviously giving up 800 yards to North Carolina. Do you feel like this is a bold, deep question, and you probably have no idea, but do you feel like Manny Diaz should go ahead and release Blake Baker and figure something out as far as the defensive coordinator move, including himself, or what do you think about that?
I don't know the relationship between those two guys. I don't know if that's a difficult move for Manny to make, but it shouldn't matter. Business
very
is
close.
Okay, they're very
close as Mark D'Onofrio and
Okay. That's what you outlined for me. Gotcha. So it's a difficult move, but business is business, and Manny Diaz is being paid a ton of money, just like any major college football coach, to make the right moves and not just to hire his friends and leave them on the staff if they're not getting the job done. I don't think there's any, and people that watch me on a regular basis know that I'm not on here just after a bad game, constantly ranting and raving that people should be fired. But I think it's pretty clear that this defense is underachieving and that Blake Baker needs to be dismissed. And if they're going to, especially from a head coach that has excelled in that role, I would think that he knows what's not happening, what moves aren't being made on that side of the ball. So if you're asking me if Blake Baker should be dismissed, I completely agree with that.
It's true, man. And you look back at the defenses, especially when we had D'Onofrio and we lost 58-0 against Clemson. This loss feels worse than the 58-0 to Clemson. It does. I don't care what anybody says. Clemson was already on the come up. This just feels worse. It was just the running game just was. North Carolina had it going all game, and we had no answer, zero answer. Even after halftime, I was like, you know what? The game's over, but maybe we could bring it in close and make some adjustments. But then they come out and their first play, I think it was first and 26 on their first play.
Yeah.
And they, boom, first down. I'm just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Not going to work, man. And, you know, just like you said, business is business. And Al Golden didn't realize that, and I tell you what, if Manny don't, business is going to be business, and he's not going to be the head coach.
Well, you've had a
And
run
I don't
of
want
that.
to happen, you know.
You've had a run of that. Mark Richt didn't conduct his team business as business with his son.
Exactly, John Rick as the quarterback coach, and him not wanting to give up play calling. Yep, you are exactly right.
You know,
crazy how Miami hater knows so much about us.
This is a big boy stuff. You know, this is again, this is business, and this is not like a family business where, you know, if we make a little bit less money and we give our son the job running, being the manager of this department, and we don't do quite as well, that's fine. It's all in house. You know, this is a major football operation where there's tons of money coming in through television and ticket sales and merchandising, and this is a big deal. You can't operate like that.
Yep, exactly. And you know, like I said, hopefully it's a wake up call to Miami fans. I mean, no Notre Dame. As much as I hate that they're in the ACC magically, they're a better team than us. They deserve to be in the championship against Clemson. You know, if Miami fans want to sit there and cry about Ohio State and their games played, well, guess what? You want to sit there and cancel Georgia Tech? Well, let's line up against Ohio State, and we'll have probably a worse outcome than we did against North Carolina. Definitely possible. So we need to worry about ourselves and quit worrying about other teams, and especially other teams that are better than us.
There you go.
And that's just the ugly truth. But I'll let you go. I'll let you get some more callers. Thanks for having me. And go Canes, sure.
All right, Hurricane. Always appreciate it, man.
Take care, Mark.
All right, Hurricane Logan. Always good to hear from him. Loves his Canes, but can also call it like he sees it. And it's pretty easy to see tonight. There's not a whole lot to debate about, except maybe what moves should be made to correct it. Not to overreact to one game. But again, this is a great barometer for this team because as I sized it up off the top, this is the team that I really wanted to see Miami play as a team, the only team on the schedule that's on their level. It would be intriguing to watch them play 4 or 5 of these games against teams on their level. The type teams that I consider to be on Miami's level. I would say Iowa's on their level. Iowa State's on their level. Maybe somebody like Auburn's on their level. To see them play a run of games like that would be fascinating, but they only have one game this season like that. And probably the bowl game is going to be the same deal. Not going to play Louisiana Tech in the Weed Eater Bowl. Not going to play that Weed Whacker Bowl against Louisiana Tech this year as an 8-2 team. So they will probably get another North Carolina type team is who they're going to play. It's not going to be a great team. North Carolina's not a great team. They've been giving up 50 points to most teams. I'm raising that a high, 35, 40, 45 points to most teams this year. And Miami's going to see another team with different strengths and weaknesses than North Carolina, probably a better defense and a worse offense. North Carolina's got a top 5 offense in the country, both statistically and in reality. I don't just tie myself to the stats. North Carolina legitimately has one of the 5 or 6 best offenses in college football. They don't have anything close to that on defense, and that's one of the reasons they've lost 3 games. And I don't know how they lost to Florida State, but that was a myriad of just like bizarre plays in the first half. And then they had a fire drill of a second half to try to fight back from 31-6 down to win it. And they didn't quite get there. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Marcus? DeAndre, how you doing tonight?
I had a feeling. I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. No Clemson football this weekend, but it is what it is. UNC just ran up Miami's backside, up and down. I was shocked. I ain't gonna sit up there and lie to you. I was shocked on how it ended. That Carolina got out to a 31-3 lead. I was kind of shocked about that, but hey, it is what it is. I just think because the way that Florida has so many schools added to it, I just don't think they have the depth that they used to have. I think that's part of Miami's problem. Those players that are in South Florida, Central Florida, that are starting, probably would have been backups at Miami back in the day. And I just think that hurts them a lot. So, but it was a great game. I mean, it wasn't a great game, but it was a great offense performance by UNC.
And I think it gets, I think it goes under the radar that actually the North Carolina defense played well, or you could say the Miami offense didn't play so well. So that gets a bit overshadowed by all the yardage and points. But when you're only scoring 10 points at halftime against North Carolina's defense, when they're giving up 40 and 45 a week, that's not good.
Yeah, because I think Wake Forest scored, and Wake Forest does not have the talent Miami has. And they put up with like 30 points in the first half.
Yeah.
Might have been the first quarter versus UNC. So,
yeah.
And that's just shocking. So, it was interesting for Clemson fans. Two Clemson corners, two of UNC's quarterbacks went to Clemson. I know Grimes, he was recruited to go there.
Yep.
At first. And Michaels, he was there too. At one point. So, hey, are you shocked how big the spread is for Clemson Notre Dame?
Yeah, I was when I saw that.
So I guess they're looking at the same thing that we talked about all those defensive players being out for Clemson that possibly might be healthy this time.
Yeah, and I also think Vegas doesn't get swayed as much as people do by one score, by one game, even between the two teams that are going to play the first time. They have their metrics in line, and they know how they grade out teams. And so I'm sure that game affected the line some. Like, let's say Notre Dame and Clemson never play this year, and Notre Dame was still 10-0, and Clemson was 10-0, let's say, because they didn't play Clemson. They played, or Notre Dame, they played somebody else. I'm sure that affected the line some, that Notre Dame was able to win a game, but maybe it would have been 13 or 14 instead of, 11? But Vegas doesn't get swayed like people do by one score, by one matchup.
But if you go back to that first matchup, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I think the spread was still 7 points, even with DJ playing quarterback and those defensive players being out.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I think it was more like 5. Yeah.
5. Okay. Yeah, but that's still that's I'm not saying that's a big spread, but
yep.
Hey, it's
anything else on North Carolina and Miami? That's what we're talking about here.
Anyway, okay. All right, Mark.
All right, DeAndre. Have a good one.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to keep everybody on track. This is on the Miami channel, so it's the Canes and the Heels. All right, Chuck C., thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Key story in this game was another slow start by the O. The D was fried early. That missed INT. Yeah, took energy out early. Yeah, that was quite unfortunate there. I hate to see penalties, and it was the right call, but I hate to see penalties that didn't necessarily impact the play. It's one thing when there's an interception and there was a penalty that aided the interception. But in that case, yeah, that was a bad break for Miami early and not getting that pick. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
And it's J-Love T, man. Good evening, Mark. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm sad.
Sure.
I'm sad and terrified at the same time because we got Alabama in 9 months, and we're going to get beat by 50.
Gonna get beat by 50? You don't know who you're playing
Yeah.
yet.
Listen, I told everybody from day one, we are a top 15, 20, 25 team in the country. To be the top 10, you have to move on from Blake Baker. You have to. And not only from Blake Baker also, you have to reevaluate everything on the defensive side of the ball. The only person who has a chance of coming back, he deserves to come back, is Ephraim Banda. Other than that, everybody has to go. And another thing a lot of people are not bringing up, since Coach, are you familiar with Coach Kowalski, Mr. Rogers?
I know who he is. I know what his background is. I know where he's been. Yeah, where he's coached. Yeah.
Since Coach, to be honest, this is from a Hurricanes fan looking in. Since Coach Cool left to Alabama,
yeah,
the defense has not been the same. It has not. And when we brought in Blake Baker, we took another 10 steps back. And I don't know why, because I was telling people last year, even though we was ranked 13th, that this defense is not it. Yeah, you'll get by with decent teams, but what if you're in prime time against good offensive coordinators? And this year is a prime example. As bad as the offense played tonight, they still put up 26 points. Mark, tonight, we had more scoring drives than stops in the first half. The offense had more scoring drives than the defense had stops. And the only reason why we stopped them scoring one time was because there was only 7 seconds on the clock. That is disgusting and embarrassing. Embarrassing. Everybody needs to be reevaluated. And the linebacker issue, people are talking about the linebackers issue. Manny Diaz plays a huge part in that as well. Because we don't have a linebackers coach. We haven't had a linebackers coach in 7 years. A real linebackers coach. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I can't wait until Cam Underwood gets on. I know he's the fan favorite right now. Not only that, the big homie wholesome one. Because, man, we need some answers, man. And somebody asked me this question earlier. If we finish the season 9-2 or 8-3, is this a successful season? It's a successful season if we make changes. If we do the same thing that we did in 2016 when we went 9-4 and people kept saying that it was the players and that Coach Rick's offense, and 2 years later he had to quit because the offense wasn't up to par, then we're in trouble. But that's my opinion. If Manny makes the changes on defense, it's a successful year. Because at the end of the day, we see that where we lack and we improve. But if he is naive and he brings Blake Baker back, I am part of the Fire Manny Diaz train in 2021. Sorry about the rant, Mark.
No. That's why I open up the phone lines, J Love T. This is your time. This is everybody's time to jump in here. You know, I'm an outsider that just loves college football, that just analyzes it, comes in watching all the games, and I give my take. But I open up these phone lines in the live chat here for all of you because you guys are passionate. That's what I want.
Facts, man. And another thing also, we got destroyed by offensive line coach that we called one of the worst offensive line coaches in the past 10 years. Oh, my God. Shout out to Stacey Sorrells, man. When you bounce back like that and you show your program that fired you, hey, I wasn't the problem. Oh, my God, bro. He was talking cash money on the sideline today, Mark. And I'm talking about when I told you we ran him out of town, we ran him out of town. And guess what happened today? Him and his boys ran ran us out of our own stadium. Much respect to Stacey Sorrells, man. Jesus Christ, bro. Everybody has to go on that defensive side, man. No excuses, bro. None. Rumpf, you gotta go. Strud, you gotta go. Packy, I don't know. I don't know what his job is, but he's stealing money from the university. You gotta go. The only person I gotta say is Banda, and the only reason why Banda stays is because he can recruit the safety position. But you gotta be better, man. Gotta be better, bro. That's unacceptable. You gave up 60 points on national television. You gave up 60. I told everybody, when we go up against good teams, Blake Baker will not hold up his own. In the 2 primetime games, he didn't hold up his own. How you let a team score in the first 10 drives? That's like we look like our defense looked like a FCS team tonight. We didn't even look like a Division I football team. You can't stop a running play? Come on, man.
Yeah, the same 3 or 4 running plays over and over and over and over.
Over and over. Over and over. Shout out to the Wholesome one, because I gotta give the big homie Wholesome one his credit. Wholesome one challenged these linebackers since game 1 and said, yo, this is the issue. They keep waiting. And you have announcers on national television repeat the same thing that this young man said in week 1. How that this gentleman that does this for a passion, for free, sees this. Well, you as the coaching staff can't see it? Come on, man. And another thing, too, and I hope everybody touch on this, stop lying to these young men. If that's not who they are, that's not who they are. ID is the safety. Carter needs to move inside. Come on, man. And I don't want to hear, well, you can't teach him the position. North Carolina showed us a great example. They moved the quarterback to linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
And turn them through. You look like an all-pro. You're the University of Miami, home of the NFLU, home of the development, home of future Hall of Famers, home of NFL Sunday. I call it the Miami versus Florida State rivalry. I call it NFL Sunday because every year there's at least 2 future All-Pros in that game. Come on, somebody. Come on, man. I'm tired of the excuses. Can I put you up on game on Mark on what the Hurricanes football Twitter account did after the game? Well, let me tell you what they did before the game. They tweeted to the fans and said that complaining about the loss is childish with all this going on with the pandemic. So right now, that's an excuse. That's an excuse. I hate excuses. And then after the game, they did the softest, most, I don't want to cuss on your channel, disgusting thing ever. They turned off the comments on the Twitter section. Instead of hearing the truth from the fans, they blocked everybody. That is soft. Like I said, man, I'll see you later on, Mark. I'm going to go party, man. Go party up in 305. God bless to you and your family, man. And I appreciate you, Mark. Hopefully by Monday morning, Blake Baker is fired, man.
I appreciate that so much, J. Lefty.
Tell Cam I'm tipping him this week, too, man. Tell Cam we need him on the show ASAP. I'm already sponsoring $100 to the show. Try to invite the fans also, Mark. Come on, show some love to the faithfuls, Mark.
I will get him on here as soon as I possibly can. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, J. Lefty. You have a good time. Forget about this game and go have a good time.
Thanks. Stay blessed.
J. Lefty, fired up. Love it. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. To let you guys go nuts. When you win, go nuts when you lose. And, in regards to people's behavior on social media, as long as it's respectful, as long as it's all in good fun in regards to trash talking, these people get paid a ton of money, meaning the coaches. I'm talking about the coaches in particular. And there is a ton of money put into football programs and a ton of money in which they make. Therefore, the criticism is going to come. The criticism is valid. The criticism is, we're not talking about a situation where they're playing intramural football. This is big boy football. I take it easier on them than I would than if I had an NFL channel. But still, especially when we're talking about the coaches in particular, they get paid to be accountable. If they want to get paid $50,000 a year and not be held accountable, then that would be different. But they're being paid millions of dollars to compete and win. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark, man? My name is Cameron, man.
Hey, Cameron.
You probably about a month ago, but I had to call in tonight, man.
Yeah, give it to me.
Dude, I tell you, bro, man, oh my goodness, it's bad. So I talked to a lot of people about this, a lot of Hurricane fans, man, and my suspect was a reality, and it comes down to this. Manny, I love him. I love what he's done and what he's trying to do and what he wants to do with the program, but it's just not his time. The plate's too big for the scene is what it comes down to. Every single time Manny Diaz has had to play up to a seasoned, salty veteran coach, it did not work out in his favor. Blake Baker, he got to go. Bye. Coach Packey, bye. I heard one of the callers earlier, or somebody earlier said it, the only person who needs to be on that defensive staff after this should be Coach Banda, because I honestly believe Banda was a big reason in why Miami was able to get someone like James Williams to commit on top of Manny himself. Rumpf, he's a Hurricane alum, was on the national championship team. That's all cool and dandy, but he got to go too. That was a disgusting win, man. I mean, I'm a Hurricane fan, obviously. I live in North Carolina. I'm in the Marine Corps, stationed in North Carolina, and I got home at halftime for the game because I had some stuff to attend. Turned the TV on to see what I saw. I mean, if I was a fan there, I would be yelling at the athletic director, yelling at whoever to give me my money back for that game, because that you should not have charged somebody. The 12,000 fans they had in that stadium, you should not have charged somebody to watch what they put on national television. This wasn't no ESPN3, no local South Florida channel, no ESPN2. This was ABC prime time, man, and they got their asses whooped. It was disgusting. I mean, completely disgusting. It's hard, man. I know it's hard for them, but things aren't adding up. And what I mean is that on paper, it might show that they're doing good and that they're improving, but in reality, it's not. You know why? Because of this. Ever since, we'll say, last 15 years, what has been Miami's biggest issue? Two things. One, they're losing to opponents that they have no business losing to. Number two, they can't play up and they can't dominate opponents that they should be able to beat or should be able in contention with. We have not seen a Miami team dominate a team that they were projected to lose against since 2017 against Notre Dame, when they smoke checked Notre Dame. Before that, Lord knows when was the last time Miami put on a performance where they dominated somebody above them. And what my thing is, and I talked to my dad about this before the show, before I came on your show, you can tell that game, you can tell clear as day, a seasoned, salty veteran coach in Mac Brown, who I respect Mac Brown a lot. Mac Brown, Jimbo, dudes like that I respect a lot. You can tell a seasoned coach versus a rookie coach who's still testing the waters, trying to fill everything out, trying to get everything right. It's clear as day. It's just like last year. This game gave me flashbacks of last year when Miami played FIU against Butch Davis, and you saw it right there. A salty coach, proven, who knows how to develop his players based off his players, their individualism, versus a young, developing, up-and-coming coach. Now, Manny's been coaching ball, like defensive ball, for a while, but as a head coach, he's brand new. He's a baby, man. We're supposed to open up 2021 against Alabama. and I don't see us having a game plan that can beat them. I don't. Now, if you were to put our players on the roster versus their players, obviously Alabama's players are going to be better. But player versus player, it should still be a sweet competitive game. But I see the coaching staff being the crutch, the weak crutch in that. Now, obviously, you're going to have the Canes fans out there that are like, oh, well, you know, where were all these haters and all these angry people last week when they smoke check Duke? They played a down in the dump season Duke Blue Devil team, and then came out this week and did that. Miami had everything going for them, and that's the other thing. Miami's been known for this for the last 20 years, 15, 17, however many long years. Every time they are in contention to do something big, go to the national championship, playoff games, 2017, they had a chance to be in the playoff games and compete for a national championship spot. Multiple years in contention for ACC Coastal Championship game. Multiple times, and they drop the ball all the time, and it's always to the same type of teams. These North Carolina teams, these every now and then Georgia Tech teams. I mean, it's the same story, the same song with a different tune every year, man. And it's frustrating. It really is, you know. And I was one of the ones where I was all about Manny, but I told a lot of Canes fans, I said, I need Manny to do two things before I can be on full ship with him. I need to see him win out the rest of the season, so that meant beat North Carolina and go to a good New Year's Six game and win that game. So if they would have went to the Orange Bowl, beat Florida, Georgia, whoever they would have played, and then next year I would have needed to see how the 2021 Hurricanes came out and played against Alabama and Atlanta. Those were the determining factors for me to determine if this man and this staff is the staff that's going to lead us back to the promised land. But after tonight, it ain't happening, man. I mean, Miami has a stout recruiting class right now that's going to be coming in, especially on defense, man. They got that 5-star James Williams, all these cats, man. And these kids were watching this game tonight, especially defense, because this class is defensive loaded. And they're watching this game, and the recruits and their parents are scratching their heads because they're like, wait a second, I'm sending my kid to this? Like, this is what I'm about to send my kid to? A coach who can't develop a game plan, or a coach who can't make sure that his coaches have a competent game plan in place to beat a team that they already have a better record over. And it's sad, man. It's really sad, man. I mean, us true Hurricane fans, just like the dude that called before me and was on the phone with you, us true Hurricane fans, dude, like, we're hurting, man. We're hurting really, because this is just, and we've seen this so many times. We've seen this with Al Golden. We've seen this with Mark Rick. We've seen this with Randy Shannon. And now we're seeing it with Manny Diaz. Like, don't get me wrong. Miami has a good record, 8-2 at the end of the season. It's good. But let's be real. How many of those games, if COVID wasn't going on, if these were regular season games like in the past, how many of those games Miami won this year would they have truly won? You know, your Virginia Tech up in Blacksburg, if they had a sold-out crowd. NC State, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you really, after watching tonight's game, can you truly say, oh, yeah, Miami still would have beat them in the past, or beat them even if it was normal? And you can't. A lot of people can't. I know I can't, man. So it's rough, man. It's rough. It sounds like I'm venting, but I mean, it might be, but it's just my opinion.
That's why we're here, man, for you to get on here and vent. It's a passionate sport, passionate fans, and it's this big because people love it and are attached to their team. So it's tough to take when you have certain expectations for your team and you've got a tradition that stands at a certain place in college football, and it's been 15 years since you've been able to live up to that tradition. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, man. And Mark, let me ask you something, man. You seem like a very educational man when it comes to college football. I don't know if you knew it, but the offensive line coach for North Carolina is Stacey Searles, the same coach that all the Miami fans were screaming and spitting blood at to get him out of here because he sucked at coaching offensive linemen, developing them, and being a good offensive line coach. This man came to Mac Brown's team in 2018 when Brown got hired, and now he is the offensive line coach for one of the best offensive lines and one of the best rushing attacks in the nation. Like, how do you feel? Like, what does that? Me asking you, how does that make you feel in terms of does Miami, and I'm not saying the coach at Miami, I mean like the athletic director, the program, do they truly know what they're doing right now? Because how can you justify it was the offensive line coach was the reason why the O-line was bad. When he left, went to another program. Mind you, we all know Miami recruits are players on paper versus North Carolina players on paper, crush them. How is it that this man can do that with that team? Like, I'm asking you that, Mark. How do you feel, or what do you think about that scenario?
Well, even though the recruiting classes are better at Miami, I don't know that the offensive line recruiting classes are better at Miami. And you raise a great question, because if you've got, and now in terms of Searles leaving Miami, I was certainly aware when he was there, and I was certainly aware when he left. I didn't know until maybe a month ago that he went to North Carolina. Didn't realize that. But I have no answer for why he wouldn't be able to develop players, because I think the offensive line coach, this is just in general, it varies from team to team, but in general, I think the offensive line coach is the most important position coach on the football team.
I agree. I 100% agree with you, man.
Because there's more mixing and matching of offensive linemen than you need 7 or 8 players typically. And then you also have to develop. When you see good offensive lines, you'll see this all season with any depth chart for any good team. They'll have players who have to play right tackle, guard. You have to be able to interchange them, and you have to be able to balance putting the 5 best players on the field versus your 5 best players may not be your 5 best positional players in the positions you put them. So you have to weigh the flexibility factor versus the talent and the execution factor, and then just developing them. There's no question Wisconsin doesn't, for the most part, sign top 5-star, 4-star offensive linemen, but they develop them into NFL players.
Yep.
So does Iowa. So does Iowa.
Exactly. Yes, they do. And that goes back to the question about, is it for the longest, and I've been following you for years, man, and every year this topic of the offensive line always comes up in one of your videos, one way or another. But it's been the long question and the long issue for the University of Miami is, why can we not develop offensive linemen? I think the last first-round offensive lineman we had was Eric Flowers in 2015.
Yeah.
He was, and to be honest with you, he wasn't even really a first-round talent. He shouldn't have been. He should have gone in the 3rd round-ish, maybe 4th round. Before that, I really don't even know when. Now, granted, history shows that Miami is not known for producing these top-notch NFL linemen, like you said, compared to like your Wisconsins, your Iowas, your Midwest teams, essentially. Even Nebraska back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of trying to bring a program back to promised land, especially a team's prestigious like the University of Miami, like, where is the disconnect at, man? You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, a lot of people are saying, oh, the line improved this year, which I do believe they improved. But at the same time, man, to me, this game right here, it was a picture of what we had this season. It was the same team with a different tune. That's all it was. They changed up a couple songs. They made it sound a little catchier, so more people were like, this is cool. I like this a lot more. They did win games, close games, that they could have lost in the past. But I'll tell you this right now, and people can disagree with me. I'm being real. If this was a regular season where they had full stands in stadiums, that Virginia Tech 24-25 game in Blacksburg, I don't think that would have went the way we thought or how it went this year with a 24-25 win. Your NC State game, you know what I'm saying, your VA game, Virginia game when they play Virginia, those games, if this was a regular season, might have not went the same way. You know what I'm saying? And this game answered a lot of the question marks I had in terms of this team, the staff, and what they're doing down there. Which to me, it seems like, to me personally, it seems like they're kind of just like winging it, and not winging it, but they're like, let's try this, or let's try this, or let's do this, or let's do that. I'm telling you right now, if Manny doesn't get rid of Blake Baker and either take over his defense again and get them back, or if he doesn't bring some nasty snarling dude in to coach that defense, it's just going to be another Mark Richt, another Al Golden scenario, another Randy Shannon scenario. He's going to be there for 4 or 5 years, and then he's going to be gone, and then we got to wait for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's rough, man. It really is rough. There's just so many things, man. I mean, they were in contention to play a New Year's Six game, and they were going to be. They could have finish the season super strong. You know what I'm saying? And they lost that now. They lost it, man. I mean, they had that in their grasp. You know, even though they have less wins or less losses than North Carolina's going to zoom past them in the rankings. And, like, I get it if it was like a close game, like a 3-point, 4-point, even a 7-point game, touchdown loss. Yeah, Miami would have probably dropped a couple rankings, put up a good game against the number 1 or number 3 offense in the country. You know what I'm saying? But they got crushed. I mean, they got smoke checked in a nasty way. Like, there is not one thing they can say about tonight's game. The committee can say about tonight's game where they're justifying Miami going to a New Year's Six game over North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? I mean, before tonight's game,
sure,
the Orange Bowl was like, oh yeah. Before tonight's game, the Orange Bowl was like, okay, Miami wins tonight's game. Let's get that marquee matchup going. Let's get Miami and Florida, Miami, Georgia, whoever in this bowl game. The fans are there. Hard Rock Stadium is allowing fans to come into the stadium. Like, this can be a good game. We can make revenue. We can make money on it. But after tonight, ain't nobody going to spend $300-$400 on a ticket to see the Hurricanes show up and get their ass kicked against some SEC opponent. Like, it ain't happening, man. I'm sorry.
Well,
man.
Yeah, they're 8-2, and they beat the teams they were supposed to beat, but they haven't beaten a good team. Who's the best team that they've beaten this year? Probably NC State, and they barely beat them. They were down by 10 in the fourth quarter, and like you say, it was a Friday night. If the stands were packed, who knows what the outcome would have been, but I'm not going to say that they would have lost, but who knows? We will never know. The other thing I think you got to consider is that when is the last time Miami had a head coach on the sideline? And I'm going to take Mark Richt out of this equation for one reason, because he clearly was a good head coach in his prime. Not a great head coach, not at the top of the chain, but very good.
Yeah.
One of the 5 or 10 best in the nation, able to lead a top 10 program year after year after year. But he definitely got to a point where he had lost his fastball and just wasn't as invested as he needed to be and made a stupid decision with his son. So put him aside. There's been no Miami head coach since Butch Davis, who, even including Larry Coker, who won a national championship, who ever proved that they were worth a damn as a head coach anywhere else. None of them ever won anywhere else before or after Miami. So they basically have not done a good job of hiring head coaches for almost 20 years. Over 20 years.
And that's an excellent point, man. And that's where earlier I mentioned past the head coach, the administration down there. I understand not everybody, but a lot of people do know that Miami wants to be known as a medical school. Gotcha. I got it. But the amount of money as a private university, the amount of money Miami was breaking in their prime time back in the day when they were winning championships, winning New Year's Six bowl games and stuff like that, that money was going into their school. You know what I'm saying? And one of the program is so off track. It really is. From the athletic director to the president, and back then when you mentioned it, since Butch Davis, that's right when Butch Davis left and Coker took over. That was when Donna Shalala took over as the president of university, and she had zero attributions in terms of the program, in terms of the school being a football program. You know what I'm saying? And it's been like that since then. We've only had 2 presidents since 2001 when we won our national championship. We had Donna Shalala and then right now Julio Frank. And you can tell where their priorities are. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the biggest issues is Miami does not pay their coaches. It's been that. When Mark Richt came in, they forked out some money for Mark Richt, even though he retired. But it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? And it was a shame that it took Mark Richt, an older coach, coming to this school saying, we don't have an indoor facility. Football players don't have their own spaces. Like, we're behind the curve. Like, how am I supposed to recruit top-notch talent when I bring them down here and I'm like, oh, by the way, if it lightnings or thunders outside, we have to stop practice and we go in the basketball gym and do sprints. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's rough, man. And with all that being set aside, the thing about it is that Miami had their chances. They really did. They had chances with Mario Cristobal, which is a highly respected football coach. They've had their chances with Butch Davis multiple times. Even when after Al Golden got fired, Butch Davis was licking his chops, and he said it multiple times in the Miami Herald that he would be more than willing to come back to the University of Miami. North Carolina did it. everybody was raving when Mac Brown got hired, the whole Mac is back thing. North Carolina did it. He came back, and look what he's doing now. And not to mention, let me add this too to that. These players that Matt Brown got on his team, I would be willing to bet that 60 to 70% of them are Larry Fedora players.
Sure.
Meaning these are his players he recruited to this university, to that university. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can see what's going on. You can see what the problem is and all that, you know. So it's like, it's rough, dude. It's rough, man. That's all I'm gonna say. But I appreciate you letting me get on the show, dude. Definitely. I'm glad you answered and let me get on the phone. Thanks for talking.
No
Awesome.
doubt.
I won't hold you up because I know you got other cats probably calling, blowing your phone up too, man. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the call, man. Take care.
Yeah, no worries. You too, man. Bye.
All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and we are certainly going to lock in on USC, UCLA, Virginia Tech, LSU, and Florida. So I'll be on here for a few more minutes. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything in the live chat. We do have a super chat coming in here I want to get to. So that is much appreciated. Chuck Mo Beer, thank you so much, because I want to remind everyone on here that we're on here to talk college football and best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our goal. That's our aim. That's our mission. I'm not saying we do it all the time, but that's the goal. Best discussion, debate, analysis right here. And it's going to continue because of your help and your support. Well, let's see if I can get this straight. Here we go. So Chuck Mo Beer, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Hello, Mark. Coach Diaz needs to be fired. The entire defensive staff, clean house. No, let me restate that. Don't want to get that wrong. Chuck Mo Beer is saying, hello, Mark. Coach Diaz needs to fire the entire defensive staff, clean house. There is no way they can justify this disaster. This is why we lose recruits all the time. Fire the defensive staff now. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark Rogers, it's Ballard. How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, Ballard. I'm good. What's going on?
Man, do we have a couple upsets today in college football, huh? I mean, Miami's down.
That was an upset?
Well, I mean, it was
So 2.5 points.
North Carolina beating Miami.
3 points, 2.5 points. I don't really consider that much of an upset, but technically, yeah, it was an upset. 3 points.
Yeah. And then we also had Utah taking out Colorado, which you remember I was calling up the other day talking about all the teams that, looked like they were having a shot. Now, Colorado could still win the Pac-12 or whatever, but, I mean, you're 4-0 losing 2-0, I guess, was 1-2 going into the game. Utah team at home, that is kind of tough for a team like Colorado, I guess.
Again, Utah was a favorite in that game. They were like a 1.5 point favorite.
Yeah. Well, I want to get your thoughts on what you saw. I know it's Arkansas and everything, but, I mean, is there really, I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm an Alabama fan. I think this has got to be the greatest Bama team I've ever seen on defense, offense, and even special teams. I'm sure you've paid attention to, Will Reichert. He's hit from 50 yards. So Bama, as you know, has had struggles in the kicking game and everything. I mean, how does Bama get better right now? Now, I'm not trying to. A few years ago, when it was the year they got blown out by Clemson, that team, everyone looked at it and said, you can't stop them. You can't stop Judy. You can't stop Tua. You can't stop Ruggs. You can't. And then what happened? They took things for granted. They lost 44-16. I'm also kind of afraid that maybe that would happen for Bama this year, but I feel like Nick Saban kind of has learned a little bit from that 44-16 game. Now, granted, that was a different team, but, I feel like maybe we're looking at this team almost in a way like we did 2018. I mean, do you think Bama could get to the point where maybe they, take things for granted going into like the playoffs and stuff. And not that they lose, but slow down a bit.
Okay, Ballard, I'm going to make a very brief answer to this because we're on the Miami channel after the Miami game. So we're just talking Miami and North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
And then I will be on late tonight, about 11 o'clock after the primetime games. So I'll just say this. Basically, Alabama's playing better football than anybody in the country. I don't think there's any question about that. I believe that there's basically not that Notre Dame on their best night couldn't beat them, or maybe Florida next weekend, but basically there are two teams that have a legitimate shot of beating them. And I truly believe that's Clemson and Ohio State, but I don't think either one of them are as good or playing as well as Alabama. But if they show up and play their best and Alabama doesn't, then they can win. And so, yeah, I draw pretty strong parallels between this team and how they're playing to the 2018 team. And really, in comparing the complete domination of everything that they're doing, offense, defense, and special teams, it's hard to really go back that far because they were playing such different offensive philosophies, even from from Jalen Hurts going back. It's only been Tua and Mac Jones to where they've operated like this on offense, to where you can really rate them against any other teams. But in terms of them being complacent, I can't predict how 19 and 20-year-olds are going to respond to beating teams by 50 points every week, and how that can be. I think that's human nature to become complacent when it becomes easy. But at the same time, if there's any coach in the nation who can guard against that and knows the tricks of the trade to guard against that as much as better than anyone, it's Nick Saban. All right.
Of course. Yeah.
Thanks, Ballard.
Yep. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure, of course.
I know you're a busy guy. Enjoy the content, and happy holidays.
I appreciate that, Ballard. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Luke Walker feeling good tonight. We knew he would. Hey, it's fun when you talk about a game all year, like North Carolina and Miami. We've had our Miami fans, of course, but we also have some North Carolina people jump in here, but nobody's more vocal than Luke Walker. And when the game finally gets played, then whoever wins can say, beat my chest, look at me, look at our team. That's part of the deal. Okay, anything else in here? Anything else? I am certainly going to lock in on LSU, Florida, and USC, UCLA first and foremost. But, man, Virginia Tech playing as well. All right. Mark Roger, think King sucks. Okay. Please find the video, Vincent. Please find the video where I said that De'Ara King sucks. The only thing derogatory I've ever said about De'Ara King was in the last couple of weeks, and this isn't really a slight because I would say this about almost every quarterback in the country. The only thing I said was that he was not ready to play in the NFL. And he may never even be an NFL quarterback. That may not be his position in the league. But I didn't even go to that point. I just went to the point to say he is not prepared to play in the NFL. That's about the only thing I've said negative about De'Ara King. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to be back on the main channel after all these primetime games at 11 o'clock Eastern time. I thank you so much for the support. We're going to keep going on here based on your contributions and sponsors as well. So I want to remind everyone that if you have ideas, suggestions, or more importantly, a contact of a potential sponsor, please contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. MarkRogersTV at Gmail. You can always contact me there if you've got a request, you got a recommendation, anything. But most specifically, if you have a contact of a potential sponsor, because we need to increase our revenue streams. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. And everybody else in the live chat, of course, we're going to talk Miami all week. We'll have the Wholesome One on here and Cam Underwood, and maybe it's about time for me to do another live stream and run through your comments to the channel. So keep supporting. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Cheryl, thank you so much. Our tremendous moderator, the wonderful Cheryl, keeping us all straight and reminding everyone to smash that like button before you head on out. We will see you tonight after the ball games over on the main channel.